Babur established the Mughal Empire in 1526, and it had a profound impact on Indian history. Through the emergence of Urdu, cultural innovations, and monumental architecture, it blended Turco-Persian and Indian traditions to leave a lasting legacy. From Aurangzeb's extensive conquests to Akbar's progressive reforms, the empire rose to enormous heights before collapsing due to internal conflict and colonial pressures. It tells a tale of grandeur, ambition, and lasting impact. Sindh, which is now part of Pakistan, was subjugated by the Umayyad Caliphate in the 8th century. Nevertheless, India was too far away to govern, and succeeding caliphs were unable to do so or extend their rule. Then, after capturing Lahore in 1030, Mahmud of Ghazni, Mahmud al-Ghaznawi, invaded India in the 11th century and imposed a long-lasting Turkic government there. The Delhi Sultanate was the collective name for the several dynasties that ruled northern India following the fall of his empire. None, however, was particularly successful for very long. As part of the partnership, Hikmah History produced a video about the Muslim invasion of India, which you should watch. The Lodi dynasty was the final of these, but with nothing to lose and no other options in Central Asia, a Timurid prince named Zahir ad-Din Muhammad Babur, Zahir ad-Din Babur, decided to invade India in 1526. Babur was a 13th-generation descendant of Genghis Khan, Genghis Khan, and a 5th-generation descendant of Tamerlane, Timur-Lenk. He claimed all of Timur's empire, just like many other Timurid princes did, but he could hardly control the Fergana Valley. The Uzbeks' ascent from there drove him southward until he established Kabul as his capital. He could only go east because the Uzbeks were to the north and the Safavids to the west. India was to the east. He faced the dominant Lodi dynasty at Panipat in 1526. He overcame them despite the rather insurmountable odds, and after contending with other regional Hindu and Muslim rulers, he captured nearly all of North India over the following 4 years. He established a dynasty that became known as the Mughals, the Persian term for Mongols. However, the dynasty itself, known as the Gurkhani dynasty, had close ties to Timur. Timur liked to brag about being Genghis Khan's son-in-law, and his title, Gurkhan, meant royal son-in-law. At the age of 46 or 47, Babur passed away in 1530. As the story goes, Babur had made a deal with God for his son's life, in exchange for his own, after his son and heir, Nasir ad-Din Humayun, became ill. However, it quickly became apparent that the deal was not the best one he could have found. In addition to his lack of leadership skills, Humayun also overindulged in opium and wine. Numerous local leaders challenged him because of his seeming weakness. In 1539, Humayun was overthrown by Sheher Khan Sur, an Afghan nobleman. For several years, Humayun essentially became homeless and roamed around Sindh. However, Sher Khan, or Sheher Shah Suru, lost his empire in battle in 1545 and was subsequently split up. Humayun, on the other hand, began capturing the fragmented empire after requesting assistance from the Safavids. He regained control of both Delhi and Lahore by 1555. Regretfully, he fell after losing control while sprinting down the stairs. Soon after, in 1556, he passed away. For this reason, you should never run upstairs, downstairs, or simply run. The next ruler of the Mughal Empire was his son, Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Akbar, Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Akbar, who was only 12 or 13 years old. For the first 5 years of the young Shahanshah's reign, regents oversaw and maintained the empire. He was prepared to assume leadership by 1561. He further grew the empire by capturing much of Bengal, Gujarat, and Bihar. However, the Mughals were now having some issues with legitimacy. Less than 5% of the people in the realm they ruled over were Muslims, and they were a foreign Muslim dynasty. Akbar began his rule by adhering to Sufi Islam, as did Babur and Humayun. However, he started a battle to bring Islam and the different Indian religions together over time. He invited religious scholars to engage in open dialogue in the Ibadat Khana, Abadat Khaner. Jesuits from the Portuguese enclave in Goa were also invited by him. The Portuguese had reached India 30 years before the Mughals did. All of these concepts were brought together by Akbar in his divine religion, or Din-i-Ilahi, Dan-el. The ruler was somewhat portrayed as divine in this new religion, which did not sit well with Muslims who believed that there was only one God. He began to worship the sun every morning as well. By removing the jizya tax and funding Hindu temples, he attempted to win over Hindus. For his people to read the Mahabharata and gain a better understanding of Hinduism, he also translated it into Persian. You can view the Hindu mythology and Mahabharat video from Useful Charts, which is also included in the Discovery of India. The subcontinent was essentially self-sufficient by this time, importing only a few spices, war horses, and precious metals. However, it also exported a lot of valuable goods, including textiles, pepper, saffron, sugar, and indigo. However, because the subcontinent was divided among numerous rulers, people had to pay a lot of taxes when they moved from one ruler's territory to another. Because everyone was raiding everyone else, it was also quite risky. However, everything changed when the Mughals arrived. Sher Shah Suri unified all of North India under his banner during his brief reign, which facilitated trade from India's western border to its eastern one. The rupee coin was also introduced by Sher Shah Suri. Hindu nationalists, take note, you also need to change that. Additionally, he constructed the Grand Trunk Road, or GT Road, as it is currently known, which linked his enormous empire from the Afghan border to Bengal. Akbar changed the Mansabdari system, a bureaucratic structure created by the Mughals. An official who was responsible for supplying the emperor with troops was known as a Mansabdar. They had different grades, and they had to supply more troops for the higher grades. Under Akbar, it varied from 10 to 5,000 soldiers. They were granted a Jawar, which was the authority to levy taxes on a specific amount of land to pay their debt to the emperor. These Mansabdars were chosen by the emperor himself to ensure their loyalty, and he dispersed them so they couldn't establish a base of authority in one location. All religions could use the system, and in fact Mughal and Rajput princes held some of the highest mansab. The Zamindar. Landowners with significant authority over a few villages were the Mansabdars' challenges. When the Mansabdars attempted to enforce edicts or collect taxes, the Zamindars frequently resisted, leading to conflicts between them. Akbar was able to give the fledgling Mughal Empire the solid base it required to prosper in India as a result of all these reforms. Many people believe he was the best Mughal emperor. Akbar, which translates to the Great, was a title rather than his given name. In 1605, he passed away. Nur ad-Din Muhammad Jahangir, Nuruddin Muhammad Jagnir, Akbar's son and heir, attempted to grow the empire even more, but it had essentially reached its limits. He even made an unsuccessful attempt to overthrow Timur's erstwhile empire. He began actively attempting to eradicate the recently established Sikh religion from the Punjab region during his rule. He even put a Sikh guru to death. Check out Mythology Guy's video from the Discovery of India collaboration, which discusses the Sikhs' founding. Jahangir's attempt to conquer Ahmadnagar in the south, which fell in 1616, is an intriguing aspect of his reign. However, a well-known but little-known general named Malik Ambar, Malsh Anbar, began guerrilla warfare against the Mughals there. Although he caused the Mughals a great deal of trouble, the legacy of Deccan resistance against Mughal rule that he established was more detrimental to the Mughals. In his mission, he had brought together a large number of Muslims and Hindus, including Shahaji Bhosale, a Maratha general. Later on, he will become significant. Shahab ad-Din Muhammad Shah Jahan, Shahabuddin Muhammad Shah Jahan, inherited the Mughal Empire after Malik Ambar and Jahangir passed away in 1626 and 1627, respectively. Though again with little success, Shah Jahan pressed even harder on the Deccan. Shah Jahan led an expedition into Transoxia in 1646 to overthrow the Timurid Empire, but there too nothing was accomplished. For his beloved late wife, Mumtaz Mahal, who incidentally passed away while giving birth to the couple's 14th child in 1631. He was the one who constructed the Taj Mahal. A civil war broke out among Shah Jahan's sons in 1657 because it appeared that he was near death. Shah Jahan recovered, but his sons had invested too much in the war, and in 1658, after he defeated his brother in a civil war, his son Muhi-ud-Din Muhammad Aurangzeb, Mahid-Din Muhammad Aurangzeb, overthrew and imprisoned him. Although he could see the Taj Mahal, Shah Jahan would be imprisoned in the Agra fort for the next 8 years. Aurangzeb exhibited what is known as traditional religiosity. Many of Akbar's tolerant policies were revoked by him. He converted the entire kingdom to Islam and even wrote the Fatawa al-Alamgiriya, al-Fatawa al-Alamakiriya, a collection of Sharia from the Quran and Hadith. He was unable to fully enforce his music ban. However, he also hired individuals for his court based on their qualifications rather than their faith. Of all the Mughal emperors, he had the highest proportion of Hindus working in his court. While he ordered the destruction of temples that he considered attractive to Muslims, he did support the construction of Hindu temples. Aurangzeb, like his great-grandfather Akbar, was a conqueror. He served in military campaigns for the majority of his life. He expanded the empire southward, but it became increasingly challenging to manage. The Deccan was a Pandora's box that he opened. Since Muhammad ibn Tughlaq's death in 1351, he has ruled over the largest portion of India and the Mughal Empire at its height of territorial expansion. The great Maratha warrior, Chhatrapati Shivaji Bhosale, the son of Shahaji Bhosale, established the Maratha Empire, which swiftly seized a sizable portion of southern territory. A video about the Marathas as part of the discovery of India has been produced by Freemanpedia. You can look into that. Aurangzeb was too preoccupied with maintaining and growing his empire to truly govern it. Aurangzeb, in my opinion, simply never understood when to call it quits on war and return home. As their power increased, the zamindars and mansabdars became restless. Akbar's system required a powerful, involved leader who could maintain control. The mansabdars, but Aurangzeb simply wasn't good at that. The mansabdars were also fed up with constantly assembling and deploying troops. The ongoing conflict also drained the empire's finances. During his last years, Aurangzeb either subdued rebellions in previously conquered territories or established new ones. A civil war started in 1707, the year Aurangzeb died. 3 of his grandsons and 2 of his sons had died before it was all over. At 64, his eldest son, Bahadur Shah, succeeded to the throne. To appease the Hindus, he overturned his father's discriminatory and conservative policies. However, the empire was not particularly troubled by Hindus. After Bahadur Shah died in 1712, there were 2 more succession wars before the start of Muhammad Shah's reign in 1720. Before the Afsharid ruler of Persia, Nadir Shah, invaded, pillaged, and sacked Delhi in 1739, his rule was helping to stabilize the empire to some extent. Whatever delusion the Mughals' surroundings may have had about their power was now dispelled. Nearly all of South India had already fallen to the Marathas. They were now aiming for Delhi itself. The Mughals were also being harassed by Ahmad Shah Durrani, who was Nadir Shah's protege and the first ruler of Afghanistan. 3 times, in 1748, 1757, and 1760, he launched an attack on Delhi. Following the Marathas' conquest of Delhi in 1757, the Mughals became their tributaries. Their dominion grew just beyond the city's boundaries. Following the demise of the Marathas, the puppet masters were replaced by a joint-stock English company whose greed and ambition had no boundaries. The empire persisted between 1757 and 1857, but only in name. Its wretched existence was finally ended by the British in 1857 when it joined the Indian Mutiny. Bahadur Shah II, Bahadur Shah Dhafar, the final Mughal emperor, was imprisoned there until his death. The bodies of other Mughal princes were displayed at the Kuni Darwaza, Kun Darwazar, which translates to the Gate of Blood. The British conquest and rule over India are covered in the video The Discovery of India by a long, long time ago. The subcontinent is still replete with remnants of the 331 years that the Mughals ruled India. Their culture was based on the Turco-Persian culture of their native land, but it eventually blended with other regional customs to become its own. For example, Urdu began to gain recognition as a separate language during Aurangzeb's rule, even though many people continue to maintain that it is simply Hindi, with minor modifications. The Mughals are well known among visitors to the Indian subcontinent for the exquisite structures and miniature paintings they left behind. The Taj Mahal, the Red Fort of Delhi, and the imperial city of Shah Jahanabad were all built by Shah Jahan alone. Lastly, the spread of Islam is the area of Indian life where their influence is most noticeable. The specifics of the spread of Islam in India are a topic for another article.